Well, good evening, Brushheads. It's 7 o'clock here on Sunday, and that means it's time for Painting with MkII John. It's a great day here in MkII John land, and I hope it's a great day for you out there in Brushhead world. It's a new day. It's a new start. And hopefully what you're hearing out there is a whole lot better audio. So I'm pretty excited about this. Any of the Brushheads that are out there in the fabulousness of Twitch TV and all the adventure that Twitch TV comes out. Well, there you go. There's our first testimonial. Holy crap, it's so crystal clear. What did you do? I spent $150. That's about what I did. But before I get into too much about what we did and why Painting with MkII John is actually a real podcast now instead of the little trip down hell that it used to be, let me bring in my co-host with the host, Mr. John Spencer. Say hello to the Brushheads, John.
Hey, everyone. How's it going?
My gosh, is it good to be here. And the fact that we've got one person already raving about how this sounds as compared to how it was, it makes it all worthwhile.
Yes, it does.
Now, unfortunately, John, you're not going to be a benefit of the better sound because you're still picking up my dulcet tones over the silly little microphone on my iPad still. But the Brushheads out there are the benefactors of some learning I got from Jamie of the Focus and Fury podcast, and also doing a little bit of research on my own. So I'm going to dedicate this first shot of Kraken, the first one that we're going to get on up, and we can hear both Johns, so that's great. I'm going to dedicate this first shot to Focus and Fury, and especially Jamie Huddle. So here's to you. This one's for you. Ron! Fantastic. How was your week, John?
It was a week. Had some snow here in Maryland, which makes everyone crazy. But that wasn't bad.
Well, that's fantastic. It sounds like we're about ready to dive back into the polar void again. So God only knows what that's going to bring us.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Not really.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it like, I don't know, not at all. They've already called off school in Illinois, so my youngest boy is not going to be at school tomorrow. I'm just praying that my older boy doesn't have to go so I don't have to get up at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning.
That would be good.
That would be very good. Are you having some Kraken with us tonight, John?
Oh, yeah, I had some Kraken. I'm drinking my cherry Coke and black cherry whiskey.
Fantastic. Hey, Brushheads out there, if you could let me know, how does John's sound, Mr. Spencer, that is, how does that sound compared to my voice? I want to make sure I've got the levels up so that you can all hear John, because he's absolutely key and critical to the show, and we want to make sure that you get both his viewpoints as well as MkII John's. So if you could leave a message in the chat room, that would be super awesome. Anyway.
The correct answer is I sound awesome.
Oh, you always sound awesome. It's whether or not the damn pot values are correct here. I did a little bit of testing yesterday with Jackie from Minneapolis, and she helped me set things up, and then John and I got on about a half hour ago and kind of dialed everything in. I'm pretty happy with how it sounds so far.
I'll take a listen to it when I listen to it after we're done, which I always do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So a couple of things. First off, I'm going to finish this shot because I think it's feeling like a 4-shot night.
4-shot night, ooh.
Yeah. We're going to release the Kraken several times. Let's get a little bit of business out of the way here first, John, if you don't mind. Let's go ahead and take a little look here at Thorn. I finished Thorn here today, and I'm trying to make sure that I get this actually in shot. I'm trying to do a better job of like holding the model where people can actually see it, because I think that's important to a podcast that's about video. And so he's here. I think he turned out pretty well. He uses... go ahead, John.
Oh, I was going to say, I'll let you know when he shows up. There you go. Yeah, he's looking good.
He uses my darker blue and gray scheme that I use on my Signar. And, I get I start off with a gray that's called Stone. It's pretty much an equivalent of like Bastion Gray for Privateer. And then the Exile Blue that I wash down with a black wash, and then I bring it back up with some Signar base color, and if I get really wild and crazy, I hit it with a little bit of Signar highlight, but there really isn't any of that on here. I'm pretty happy with how he turned out, And as you can see on his shoulder pad, he is number 10, and that is because he's the 10th Signar Jack that I've painted.
No, fair enough.
So, and then this is Pink, the junior Warcaster. She'll be coming up here on the feed pretty good. Welcome to the show, Tau Dark. Glad you could make it, Tadgo. Happy to see you. Happy to see all the Brushheads and legendary Brushheads in the chat room tonight. Our viewer list seems to be updating extremely painfully slow, and John Spencer's isn't loading at all. So,
oh, it loaded.
Oh, it did?
Took a while, but it loaded. Yeah.
Oh, that's just fantastic. We're really riding high now. Let me see what I can do about getting the focus just a little bit better here on my deal here. Let's see what we got. See if I can't sharpen her up a little bit. That didn't seem to help in the least. Oh, looking at the wrong feed again. Yay. Always love looking at the wrong feed. So let's see here. That's pretty good. Okay, back to the show. And she's got platinum pink hair because her face, when I looked at it, reminded me an awful lot of pinks. And Belinda, my girlfriend, is a fan of the pink. So I decided to go with a pink junior Warcaster. So there she is.
Yeah, she's looking good too.
Thanks, buddy. All right. Couple pieces of business I'd like to go into real quick. First off is we have some swag coming up. And I've worked with a real good friend of mine, Peter Lipperhart, who is a very talented graphic design guy out of Las Vegas. If you go to the Painting with Menoth John Facebook site, he's worked up a logo for Painting with Menoth John, and the kanji that's on there says Brushhead. So I'm planning on making that available via a Teespring, which is a kind of like Kickstarter for T-shirts. And so you can go on there and order those. We're working through a few details yet on the logo to get the colors, there to be the right kind of colors as far as not having too many colors that you can't actually... it has a limit of 10 colors that it can be. And we had blown right over the top of that, so...
What are you doing, bird?
All right, so so that's that piece. And then did we have something else that we were going to talk about, John?
Well, we need to remind people that we're going to have a 2-week hiatus for Super Bowl and TempleCon.
Oh yeah, we're going away for 2 weeks. We between John and I, I'm not the hugest sports fan that ever walked the planet, but I would like to watch the Super Bowl. And it turns out that it takes place exactly at the same time as this fantastic show that we do here. And then I'm going to be in beautiful and luxurious Providence, Rhode Island for TempleCon. So that is going to be eating into the time that would normally do this also. So 2 weeks, folks. We're going to be gone for 2 weeks. And so don't miss us too bad, but we'll be back. And I am going to be painting Thanes. That is correct. We have 2 Thanes here that I'm going to be working on tonight. And what are you going to be working on, John?
I am putting together some Infinity models very slowly.
So people are going to see how I paint my Retribution, which they're going to look at what I'm doing and going, oh my God, he's not actually really painting. He's just slopping paint all over that model. And that's exactly how I paint him. I put a lot of water in my cold steel and just go all over it. And it makes for... You'll see the final finished product. It'll be pretty amazing how it turns out, given how little effort I put into it. So... Yeah, so we'll be gone for 2 weeks. Don't cry for me, Argentina, because I'll be in Rhode Island whooping it up with our team, which are for the team tournament, which is Menoth John and his Nuts. We are going to be rocking it. That'll be Mr. Brett Painter and Chris Root and myself. And they will be cosplaying as wolves or some type of woodland creature. And I will be, of course, cosplaying as none other than Mr. Bob Ross. So I got all the costumes. They're all ready to go. Pictures will ensue, I promise. The Brushheads. I would not leave you out on something like that. So, good times.
Sounds like fun. Sorry, I'm going to miss it.
I'm sorry you're going to miss it, too, because one of these days, given how much time we spent on the internet together, we should probably meet.
Yeah, I'll get to one of these events.
I need to get my ass to the Nova Open.
Yeah, I need to get there too. I haven't been there, and it's right in my neighborhood, more or less.
Oh, I thought you were there last year.
No, we got busy and things came up, and I canceled my days off for it just to try and keep them, which turned out to be fortuitous because I needed them later in the year.
Well, then then it worked out for the best. But
Yeah,
we'll figure it out, John. We're going to get to a con in the same place and figure it all out.
maybe you can get a team together and show up at the ATC also, because my store is going to be sending between 1 and 3 teams.
Holy cow, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, we might get 3 full teams going.
Man, that's
That could be
fantastic.
interesting.
Well, when is
We'll see.
the ATC, John?
It is July, I want to say 12th and 13th. It's that weekend.
Well, I don't have that much going on that week during that time either. So we'll have to take a look. We'll see what happens. But
Sure.
I'm pretty sure I could probably feel. Is it a 2 or 3 person team?
3-person, and it is the 12th and 13th.
Pretty sure I can make that. I could find a couple people to team up with me. And then
Yep,
that's down in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, right?
I've actually moved it. It is now in East Ridge, Tennessee, which is closer to Chattanooga. It's a lot closer for me. I'm not sure about everyone else, but it's closer for me.
Well, that's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's not that bad. It's $90 a team, which for registration, which is not bad. And we've found hotel rooms at the local Motel 6 that's like $60 a night or so, which is easily doable.
Motel 6, huh? Better bring me some disinfectant. Whoa, getting a lot of
the price
control
is
here.
right. I'm still waiting for them to say if they've got any deals with bigger hotels, but they have not gotten back to me.
Okay, well, hey, it's better than nothing, man.
Yeah,
The price is totally right.
yeah.
So just to kind of review what I'm doing on this, I'm just putting cold steel over every damn square millimeter of this model, just as quickly as I can, and I use a lot of water on it so that it ends up being very even. And I just keep brushing until it's dry, and then it looks good. So, John, last week we debuted a segment that we wanted to call Deep Thoughts with John Spencer, and I understand that you have some thoughts to share with the group again this week. So let's have some more deep thoughts. I like about this microphone is I can have my bedroom voice a little bit easier with it. Deep thoughts with John Spencer.
I have a lot of deep thoughts. We just started a journeyman league, and it's caused me to think about a lot of things. And the biggest of which is what a veteran should expect to get from a journeyman league.
What should a veteran expect to get from a journeyman league?
Well, I build mine, and I make the rules for them because I organize most of the events for the local store, so that veterans can actually use a bunch of models and switch stuff out and see how stuff works. So veterans should really look to just play a caster they haven't played much and see what he does. And you can be competitive and try to win the whole thing, but that shouldn't really be your goal as a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
You should be looking just to learn what your guy does. I've been playing Ossian, and I've learned quite a bit of him in however many games I've played. I don't even score points for the journeyman. I'm just like, oh, you need a game? Sure, I'll play a game.
That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I'm running it. I might be kind of silly to score points, too. Hey, I won. Who knew? No, but I've learned interesting things about Ossian. The first is Chronomancer could be awesome were it not an upkeep. And if it didn't cost me a focus every turn.
I understand that. Now, Chronomancer is his ability to spend focus after the fact.
Yep. It gives us his whole battle group future sight, which is really cool. But when epic casters like Scar have it as a just and this ability, you're definitely like, what?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It has come in handy. There's occasional times where I just, I don't boost anything. I'm like, I rolled a hit. Oh, well, I hit automatic. I hit, so I won't bother boosting. So, saves focus here or there. But rarely does it save Ossian more than the one focus that it costs upkeep.
Yeah,
I could just not upkeep and just boost it from the beginning.
I honestly don't know that in all the time that I've played Retribution, I don't know that I've ever cast Chronomancer even once.
Well, I cast it just about every game. I actually made my Jack loadout what I would consider more ideal for it. So they're both the standard shield Jacks. So if you have focus left at the end, I'll spend it and regen the shield.
There you go. Well, that makes sense.
It's like I took a Hydra, which seems to really like that. Really like having Chronomancer because I rolled a hit. If it's the real interesting thing about it is if it's you roll absolutely balls, you're just like, oh, that's Snake Eyes. Well, I don't want to have to try and roll a 6 to hit, so I just miss.
Exactly.
No focus gone. Forget that noise. And I've done that for damage too. Especially with Ossian's Pud Gun, or like, oh, I rolled a 3. I have to roll a 4 to do damage. No, screw it. I'll just not do damage.
That makes sense.
Save that. Yeah. So it has some uses. I feel if they'd given him a free upkeep himself, that would have been good. That way it's not broken. You can't have Quicken on yourself, and that seems fair. That would be good. So Wishnailer seems like he'd be really good for him. I might try that out next week.
Turns out Wishnailer is just effing good for everybody, and that just makes me sad. It's like, where do I put him? Where do I put him? And
the other Jack is a Mana Core with its rate of fire 3. It gets some use out of Chronomancer.
Yep, I like that Mana Core.
You just start firing, and you're like, oh, that one just barely missed. Now it hit. You can spend a focus to get a guaranteed hit rather than a miss and roll again to see if the next one hits. So it's got some uses, just not ideal.
Cool.
And the second thing I learned in that is you should just be doing crazy stuff with your caster. You need to see how he responds in situations, because you can look at him on the paper all day long, but until you actually get him out there, you don't know how good he can be. How survivable is he? 15-15 with 16 boxes doesn't seem very survivable. Then on his feet turn, you're like, well, it actually seems pretty good.
Nope, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, and because there's not maybe quite as much on the line, you can really explore those parts of the envelope that you might be hesitant to explore in a regular tournament.
And result is, I've learned a lot about Ossian. He is really, really, really not survivable at all. I've died to hand cannons. I've died to lots and lots of guns.
Oh, yeah. My experience with him is he falls over dead a way lot easier than I ever thought he would.
I've had a lot of games where I was crushing my opponent out of hand and it just died, which is cool. I mean, it helps the newer players learn that, don't give up. Like one of the guys, it was like his first game in a long time. He's like, oh, I thought you had me. I'm like, well, you just kept your eye on the prize. It was good. And as a veteran, you're not looking for the same thing as the earlier players. They need to get that confidence that they can play and that they know what to do. So those are the beginning deep thoughts.
Well, those are some really good deep thoughts. Now, I kind of missed something that you were saying there, John. You were talking about an interaction with Ossian and the Hydra. What was that again?
Well, the Hydra keeps his focus from turn to turn.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you don't need to spend extra focus, that's just absolute focus efficiency.
Oh, yeah. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Oh, and Tau Dark, you're local, huh? Well, get up here and I'll play a game. You don't have to hunt me down.
So, for those of you who are watching along, this is the Houseguard color scheme that I'm headed for. I'm going to bring it up here on the screen here so you can see where it's headed. But as you can see with the Thane, I've got I've just coated them with cold steel at this point. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and do his backpack, and I'm going to do his belts and his pants. And I tend to do his backpack and their pants the same color. And then I'll come back and I'll do the side pouch as a slightly different brown. And then this guy's got cloaks, so I need to make some decisions on cloaks. On my Dester Thanes, they have cloaks that are, I have one that's kind of a reddish color, and then I have like a scorn red color. And then I have another one that's a green color. And I figured I'd use different colors for the cloaks just so that I could tell them apart easily without having to completely interrupt the color scheme. So that's where I'm headed with these guys. So that's some good stuff. Now, I do have one battle report that I'd like to share with the Brushheads. Since we're talking, yeah, I know exactly. Since we're talking about a little bit of retribution, and we're painting some retribution here tonight. I thought I would do a bat rep for the new chick in town, Assyria, versus the No Quarter 52 MkII theme force. I thought that would be a fun and interesting thing to do. My friend Zach was looking for a game, and he said, well, I really want to play the new MkII theme force to see what it's like. And I was like, well, okay, I probably shouldn't play Harbinger then. because my Harbinger list, which I really want to practice for TempleCon, is just such a hard counter for everything that MkII does. With purification and some of the models that are in that list, I didn't think I was going to give them a good. I thought I was going to give them a negative play experience, to be honest. So I gave them the option. I said, I could play this list, but I doubt seriously that there's any chance in this universe that you would actually drop that MkII list against somebody that had Harbinger sitting in the wings. And he was like, yeah, you're right. I don't think I would. So I said, well, I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll play somebody else, and how about Retribution? And he goes, yeah, that'd be cool. And I said, well, if you don't mind me doing a little bit of proxying, because I didn't have my Thanes together on Saturday yet. So I went ahead and I proxied a Thane, and I proxied Assyria, and I ran my list with Assyria was Assyria, a Chimera, which is the Arc Node Jack. I had a Banshee, and I had a Hyperion, and then I had, for my infantry, I had Houseguard Halberdiers with the Houseguard Thane, and I had a couple Arcanists, and the Halberdiers, of course, had the UA, and then I had two Destro Thanes. And so it was a very interesting list. I had an opportunity to land, was it Blinding Light as her spell? And I managed to miss a unit of Thorn Ravengers because I couldn't throw a 5 on 2 dice.
Dope.
Yep. And so they got to charge in and kill just everything. Man, I'll tell you what, those things are irritating. They start in that theme force. They start with a heart token, so they get to boost, and then on top of that, they kill something, and they have with the heart tokens, shoot, those things are better than Berserk, because you just shut it off, just stop spending them, and ended up losing all kinds of Halberdiers, but he had some bad rolls in there too. I was winning the attrition game pretty handily. The other part is I honestly don't think I dropped that list that I had against that MkII list because it's all medium bases. So you don't get to live the whole reason you put a Hyperion in the damn list is to live the Sparkle Burst dream. And
yeah, that's true.
And medium base is no fun. However, you know what is fun in that list is a Banshee. Because let me tell you, that momentum gun, slamming one Ravager into one or two other Ravagers, she's a good time. I was killing two Ravagers a turn with every shot of the momentum gun.
Well, that seems legit.
Yep, it's good times. As I said, I was winning the attrition battle pretty handily. And then eventually, I ran out. The list does jam pretty effectively well, so I eventually lost on scenario. I couldn't get into the zone fast enough. I went second, and that was that.
Fair enough. Well, speaking of harsh scenario losses,
yeah, I understand you have a bat rep for Mr. Brett Painter, legendary Brushhead. Brett Painter.
Indeed, I do.
So let's hear about
one of his journeyman games. He's playing Resnick, and that part of it's not his fault. He totally didn't realize that the big brown template on the table was a forest, despite the fact the other two actually had trees in it. But I'll give him a pass on that one. But he totally didn't read the scenario and realize that it was Killbox.
Oh no!
So
come on! How did he
Killbox
Resnick?
He just moved sideways instead of going forward because he's playing against Absalonia, and she's got a Forced Evo Angelius, which is scary to any caster with a medium base.
No, it's not, because he can get to him, and purgation is a thing.
Look, I'm making excuses for him.
Man, I played Absalonia at Adepticon, and in the Mangled Metal, 25-point Mangled Metal, and I dismembered that chick.
So he kill boxes himself.
Brett.
And he went first, so his opponent wisely looked and says, well, all you do is get my caster in the zone and kill that objective with Forced Evolution Angelius. Well, seems doable. So, because we play, was it close quarters? No, supply and demand is the one. Big circle, 2 objectives, yeah.
Yep.
So, there you go. The turn 2 loss, which was kind of harsh.
Man, that's rough. I don't imagine he had he had Scourge of Heresy in there, did he?
No, we can't start with character jacks.
Oh.
A Reckoner and the crazy one with the spear and the arc node.
Oh, a Guardian.
Yeah, I didn't realize the thing had an arc node. In fact,
Oh, yeah.
Everyone said that.
Yep. For the longest time, that was the only heavy arc node in the game.
Yeah, it seems pretty legit.
I don't own one. I used to have one, and then the spear kept on breaking, and the flag started to bend and started to break, and I didn't even buy. I just chucked it in the garbage. I didn't like the paint job on it anyway.
Fair enough.
So
that was his super quick battle report. He played some more games, but he was playing in the back, so I didn't get a chance to see him.
Well, I'm very sorry to hear that, because as many of you know, Brett Painter is one of my nuts at TempleCon, and to hear that he piled in so hard is quite dismaying. Brett, I may have to replace you with someone. We're gonna have to have an emergency nut conference where we discuss my nuts at length, because I cannot have defective nuts. It's something I eat well, I exercise occasionally, just so that my nuts are as fully functional as possible. And if you're not going to be able to cut it, I'm going to have to get my nut cut and find a new nut. So
I just find it funny that he's just trying to change the topic in the in the chat room. That's kind of funny.
After I gave him all that Harbinger tech, this is how he repays me, is with substandard play like this. This is just...
Well, I'm happy he's not playing Harbinger and a Journeyman, because that's...
You gotta hate some
nice.
people. You gotta hate some people to pull that stunt.
I've played against Harbinger in a Journeyman. Luckily, I was playing Gordon, and it ended how you expect it to end. I lived through a Cataclysm, and then I charged in and hit her in the face with Strength of Granite, and
then she fell over dead.
Yeah.
That will happen.
But it was scary, because she's legit.
Oh, yeah, she's for realsies. She is for realsies. So, I'm looking here. Has anyone else been commenting on the sound, if it continues to sound awesome?
Not that I have seen.
Okay. Because we only have 13 people today.
Yeah, a little light today.
Yeah. Let's see. Having defective nuts is not something to be ashamed of, Menoth John. You're right. Defective nuts, we don't discriminate against people's nuts on this show. If your nuts are not as good as they ought to be, then, that's the turn that life has given you. So you just got to roll with the changes.
Indeed.
All right, so I'm going to start working on some flesh here for the elves. But you know what time it is, John?
It's time to release Kraken again.
Oh, my God, it is certainly. You know what? I kind of am a little bit behind on the Kraken. I had committed to 4 shots of Kraken tonight, and so far I'm only at 1.
Uh-oh. You're going to have to catch up there.
All right, there goes some Kraken right there. I got some Kraken right there. We've grown to accept the new, better sound. The Brushheads are spoiled already, John.
Well, that's fair.
Well, that's good. We want the sound to just drift off in the distance so the people aren't thinking about it all the time. But, the Brushheads have lived through some amazing things. The initial video quality on this show was absolute crap. And and then the audio sucked. So now we have good video and good audio. Hooray. So here is to... this one's for you, John. For the best co-host with the mo-host, this one's for you. Hey, Ron. Good stuff.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Well, John, as my trusty co-host, the mo-host, you know what time it is. It's everybody's favorite time of the show. It's time to Flippity Bloop.
Yeah, let me get some Flippity Bloops up here. All right. right. Well, looks like we'll start with the mom forums. They were kind of slow, and Facebook's more likely to update with some more last-minute ones.
Okay.
So, Mom did manage to give us 2 whole questions, which is better than nothing.
Hooray.
And Happy Panda, which as I understand is Brett Painter.
Yeah, what's up with that, Painter? Why not just put him on the regular thing for the Facebooks? Anyway.
He wants the mom. He got some conversation going, got a second question. So
all right, well, good. That. Okay, I'll cut him some slack this time.
So he asks, how do you handle painting arc markings for models with 360-degree line of sight?
The way I handle them is to not put them on. If it has 360 degree sight or if it does not have a weapon, I just don't put anything on it.
If it doesn't have a weapon, I'll actually put the front arc, but I won't put the directly front because you're never going to charge, so directly facing is never going to matter.
And even if you had, even if it has a weapon, I mean, it literally makes no difference which way you're facing when you come in, so you don't have the technicality of, well, I have to be in perpendicular to all this kind of stuff. So at least you got that going for you. So I just ignore the whole topic.
Yep, that's what I did for my Storm Strider. I just totally didn't paint him on at all. One of the guys, the Black Pumpkin, who's also put our second question in, said he marks the direct facing for charge purposes, but that's it. But there's no real direct facing if you've got 360.
Yep, exactly.
My R guy tend to charge things in all sorts of crazy angles. In fact, sometimes if it's a little kid around watching it, I'll turn my Argus backwards and spray out of his butt because it makes the kid chuckle.
That's awesome. His butt just killed you.
It's either one. It doesn't matter whether it be the regular paralyzing one, the Doppler bark, or the 2 cold sprays that make you stationary. Yeah, it's funny either way you go.
I'll tell you what. There's sometimes when that dog of mine, when she sprays at night, that I swear to God she's got Doppler ass.
I'm lucky the local the shop mascot does not have that.
Oh my God. Toxic waste dump the dog. Anyway, so Flippity Bloops.
All right, and as I said, the second question on the mom forums is from the Black Pumpkin, who asks, which studio schemes do you like? And he said, and vice versa, which I assume means which ones do you not like?
Well, if we're talking about, I'm going to answer this 2 different ways, John. The first way I'm going to talk about it is schemes that I do for my models, and then I'll also say which schemes do I prefer from a studio standpoint. And I think he probably was asking the question about studio schemes, but I figured, we got a half hour, right, John? So of the schemes that I have painted myself, you are looking at my favorite. This scheme is simple, it's fast, and it looks pretty good. And if you look at the Houseguard guy here, you've got the silver plate mail makes sense. He's a Houseguard guy, so he's got a few more leathers than normal. I really like what I did with the way the blades are kind of a goldish color. They actually fade from like a bronze to a gold to a platinum. And it's not very obvious on this one. It's more obvious on my Sentinels where the blades are a little bit bigger. I just really like how this scheme, and then the fact that that entire army is that color. Of the schemes that I have that I like the least, I would have to say that my Protectorate is the biggest problem I have with my Protectorate is the fact that it almost doesn't have a scheme. The latest models are pretty good. I like pretty much starting with Judicator. Bullwinkle looks pretty all right, but the other than that, before that, they're literally all over the damn place. I mean, I've got some bastions that are white with black. I've got other bastions that are like a blighted gold with some black. Ugh, it's just gross. Anyway, so yeah, that'd be my least favorite. Now, studio schemes, without question, Retribution's the worst.
Agreed.
Retribution's color scheme is absolutely horrendous. I can't paint white to save my sorry rear end, and then you add on top of that, it's not. I like a little bit of menace to my, or something looks a little tough. Could you imagine fighting in that stuff? How are you going to keep that armor clean?
Oh, you're not, and they're going to see you from a mile away.
Yeah, it's the least stealthy. It makes you wonder how any of those models can have stealth.
Well, all their mage hunters who actually have a different scheme. They're more, green
True.
and gray and tan, so they're a lot more standard scheme.
True. That's very true. Still don't like it. And then, hang on for a second. I get some bloodstone. All right, I'm back. All right. That's the thing about this microphone. I actually have to pay attention to where my mouth is. Then on the one I like the best of the studio schemes. I really like I like stone and green. I really like circle, to be honest with you. One of the things that got me into circle in the first place was kind of their color scheme. I actually enjoy painting that scheme too. When I had circle many moons ago, my color scheme was straight up studio, no changes into it at all. And so that'd be my two. John, what about you?
Well, I agree with you. Both your studio ones. The circle is my favorite, and the red is my least favorite. The circle one just seems to be like it seems like the quote unquote right paint scheme for them,
doesn't it?
It's cliched, but sometimes cliched is right.
Yeah.
And then the red one. Why would you try and convince people to paint models all white?
All it's going to do is make people hate painting.
And Tau Dark mentioned another good thing is that the white and pale green don't have any contrast and they don't pop. The white pops because it's like just different, but that's it. You just see a blob of white.
I think it's telling that when you go to a convention that you never ever 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 see the studio scheme.
Oh yeah.
I have never seen a studio scheme painted Retribution army, not even once. I've seen some really really cool Retribution armies, but not a single one of them was studio scheme. Whereas Circle, it's almost always very close to the studio scheme.
True. And my personal models, I don't have a lot of stuff painted. Most of it's mercenaries, but I think my favorite is my Rulik scheme, which is mostly red, but it's sort of inspired by the G.I. Joe Crimson Guard.
Nice.
It's red, and they got black boots and gloves, and then some silver as some other highlights, silver and metal.
John, could you take some pictures of that and put it up on the Painting with Menoth John website on the Facebook?
Sure, I'll just move them there. I got them on my share them there. I've got them on my Facebook page.
Oh, sweet.
They look pretty good. And then my least favorite, maybe my troll scheme. I did orange originally, but apparently that's the in vogue color, and I'm not necessarily as in love with it as I was originally.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. Well, I guess that's what we have. It would be cool to hear in the chat room what people's favorites or least favorites are, or you could put a comment on the Painting with Menoth John Facebook page for that matter. So flippity bloop.
All right, well that's it for Mom. So we're going over to the Facebooks. And we'll start with Cliff Hughes, and he says, "What's your musical guilty pleasure?"
Oh. So I have to thank Belinda for this one because she's the one that started the whole guilty pleasure theme that we've got going on here. Boy, I would have said once upon a time I would have said Rush, but I think Rush is fairly highly accepted, especially amongst the geek community.
I'd say nowadays Rush is sort of unheard of. A lot of those youngins don't know what Rush is.
Yeah, there is that. Let's see here. Guilty pleasure. I don't know. One of my favorite songs of all time is Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley. That dude's got a frickin' voice. And it's a voice that says that he's got balls approximately the size of, like, New Jersey. And so, and then for having that turned into what is the Rickroll, it's a little sad because that means people think it's a bad song, but it's not. It's a very happy song, and he sings very nicely. So, okay, there's a guilty pleasure for you. I really like Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. John, it's your turn to embarrass yourself. Go.
Funny enough, Robinson29 says his musical guilty pleasure would be Nickelback, which, let's be honest, That's not a musical guilty pleasure. They're a very popular band.
Yeah.
And no idea where the hatred for them comes. They're commercial rock, and there's no problem listening to commercial rock.
There were worse things called. Oh my God! Someone just put up Neil Diamond. Neil Diamond's so awesome. I didn't even think about that. Tom Jones. Hello.
And Tao Dark said Warrant.
Okay, Warrant's a guilty pleasure. Now we're getting some good ones. Now, John, what do you think?
Well, I could say Nickelback. I do enjoy Nickelback, but I'm actually going to go with just some totally out there stuff. I'll give you a specific, then I'll give you the generic. The specific would be Tokyo Ska Paradise Orchestra.
Oh, wow. Never even heard of it.
Yeah, well, they're sort of a guilty pleasure because they're not in English, as their name sort of suggests. They're a Japanese ska band, and they're a little jazzy. They're cool, but, and in general, I like a lot of music that's not in English, mostly Japanese music, anime soundtracks.
If there's anybody better at composing an anime soundtrack than Yoko Kanno, I will fight you for it.
No taker. I'll agree with you on that one.
She's amazing.
So I would call that, or maybe a Ruska band, who's another Japanese ska band, but they're all female.
Oh, hello.
So, that's sort of my, Japanese music, not in English. Japanese music is sort of my guilty pleasure.
That's really cool, though. I mean, I had never even thought of Japanese ska.
Yeah, they love ska. They got a couple good bands. They're a little hit or miss. I mean, what isn't hit or miss as far as musically?
There is that.
I mean,
I'm seeing some great ones out here, though.
Yeah, Blazing Napalm said Death Clock, which is awesome.
Yeah,
it's not a guilty pleasure. It's just awesome.
We got some ABBA. There's nothing wrong with ABBA.
ABBA, Blind Guardian, who I've not heard of, but I will look up afterwards since it's been mentioned.
Very cool. Some good ones there from the Brushheads.
That's how I find new music. People mention stuff, and I'm like, well, sure, I'll look at that.
I'll try that out. I'll give that a try.
At least nobody said, "What does the fox say?" as a musical guilty pleasure.
God, I'd have to. That's loss of Brushhead privileges. You know what he says? He says STFU. That's what he says.
No, he says, "Show me the Carfax." Sorry, it's a joke from work. One of the guys just listened to that, and he's been mentioning it a lot. Oh, we got some Forsaken Pop-Tart in there, and he mentioned Slayer. Slayer's pretty amusing. I do like me some Slayer occasionally.
It is a guilty pleasure, though. I'll go with that one.
I'll leave it up there. Death metal, not my thing.
For a grown-up, it's a guilty pleasure.
Yeah, but if you're gonna listen to death metal, Slayer, I'm not sure they classify as death metal. They're pretty close. And then Japanese death metal is very amusing because, hey, if you're not going to understand lyrics, why they even have a chance of understanding a lyric? Exactly.
Might as well grunt it at you.
Yeah.
Now, if Jason Fuller from Logan was on, he would, I'm sure, educate us with death bands that would absolutely make us question whether or not there ever is a god or would be a god, because if there is a god, they wouldn't let bands like this exist. He listens to some shit, boy. Let me tell you what.
One of my old co-workers when I was doing tech support for Rhino Records would inform me that there are like 18 different types of metal and tell me exactly which type Slayer is, but
the fact that you work tech support for Rhino Records makes you even more awesome than you ever were before.
It was pretty good. Be surprised what they control. I mean, because they've got Sinatra.com and Dead.net, so quite a bit of musical diversity there.
Oh, really? They run Deadnet?
Yeah.
I'll be damned.
Yeah, so
I love me some Grateful Dead.
Yeah, I enjoy some a little bit. They're not necessarily my cup of tea, but they definitely have some good songs.
They're just kind of happy music, and that's what I like about them.
Yep.
With the happy trees comes the happy music.
Indeed.
So that was a good Flippity Bloop. So Flippity Bloop.
All right. Well, Chris Ordonez, Cindervale, as you know, has given us an epic one.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
He starts with driving down the highway, and I see a myriad of advertisements for places that cater towards adult entertainment. This is a good idea for me to take a break from my arduous journey south to visit one of these establishments that worship the pleasure of flesh. Would you consider visiting one of these roadside businesses during your pilgrimage to TempleCon?
First off, no, I would not consider stopping at one of those on my way to TempleCon. Turns out I'm in a relationship, and that's only one of the reasons why I wouldn't stop. I wouldn't recommend it. I heard there was this disease in the 80s that killed Freddie Mercury, and it probably isn't worth dying on as you go to Florida. So I cannot recommend, as happy of an ending as you might have in an establishment like that, I can't recommend it. John, what's your take? Do you think Centerville should frequent one of the spas along the way?
Definitely not. We've told him to hold out till he gets to South Korea and get his bride there.
Yeah, and you never know. You might be able to double dip. You might be a guy.
Fair enough.
Oh, no, wait. That's more the... God, what is that? That's more Thailand than it is necessarily Korea. God, he's going to like Korea. I went to Korea. I was in Korea for a week. I thought it was boss.
Gurgash says you could get punched in the face by Scott Ray. That's only strippers. Only strippers.
You might end up in the crossfire, though.
Yep. So the second part of his question is, more seriously, on another note, what are your thoughts about playing War Machine through a Skype call?
I think it's an excellent way of doing it. There's Vassal is a thing, and Vassal, while it is tedious as hell, if you're doing it through the chat window, actually isn't too bad if you're doing it over a Skype call. And I have done it, and I think it worked pretty darn well.
I've never played Vassal. I did used to watch Steamforged UK guys who did Vassal games, and whenever they had a Skype call, it seemed, palatable. Anytime they weren't on Skype with the guy, and that seemed...
Oh, it's bad.
Yeah, it seemed horrible.
It's really hard to do without Skype, because otherwise you're having to type out, I activate, this one, and then you wait for him to move it forward 3 inches, decide that he didn't have the right angle that he wanted, and then he moves it back 3 inches, moves one click to the left, then does it again, and it gets to be pretty tedious. At least with the Skype call, you can be BSing a little bit while they're playing fiddly foo with their model,
and you can tell your intentions, so you can make sure you know what's going on. I find that's another deep thought. Intention is important. Always tell someone what your intention is.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen games won or lost on intention.
Yeah.
And if you don't state it, it's not how it is. You call over a judge, it's not how it is. I mean, I've seen Hacksaw, rule correctly on more than one occasion in situations like that.
Yep.
God. What is this thing that Blazing Palm is going on about?
Blazing Napalm? What's he going on about? Game Store, first game of War Machine.
Anyway, we'll catch back up.
The music they were playing there.
Okay, gotcha.
There you go. That's
cool.
Pretty good musical taste for a store.
Okay, so there's a question from Kurgash. If you want to read that one from the chat room, John.
Kurgash, have you ever had someone walk away from a game either refusing to play what you had or made them pack up early and with a ball-busting list?
I've never had one refuse to play. First off, usually in most cases, I'm the one that's volunteering not to play a list. It's like if we get into a situation where they're going, oh my God, I got to play that, I will turn to them and go, well, I can play something different. Because mostly I'm there for the good times. I want to get a game in and have some fun, unless I'm specifically practicing for some type of an event or something, and I have a list I absolutely need some time with. I'm usually the one that'll back out of it. I have had a situation where a person has quit the game midway through the game after I removed 2 of his units in one activation with Gerlach Sliderborn, and that was awesome. And I hope it, and while I felt bad that person had a bad experience and a bad time that time, it was like sex. It was so good. that activation, and I would do it again and again and again. So hopefully that answered the question. What about you, John?
I usually don't have that problem. We tend, if someone has a list I don't want to play, I'll just take it in the face if they want to test it. You know, that more happened back in the old 40K days than in the War Machine days. Because in certain cases, I want the challenge to see how I can get through something. You know, can I? You know, is this going to work?
Yep, that makes sense.
And we do have a couple locals who quit early. We try and convince them not to. I mean, but I have no problem. If you're not having fun anymore, stop playing.
In the same breath, you agreed to. There's a social contract when you show up at the game table. If you agree to play a game, you agreed to attempt to give the other person a good game, and that means that you want to give that person a good game. You just don't quit on them. I mean, that's the equivalent of taking your ball and going home. That sucks.
But like, if you're not having fun, you tell them like, look, you know, I'm having fun. You know, unless there's something you really want to try, you get the win, and you know, I'm gonna find another game or even another game with you. This just isn't going well.
I understand. That makes sense. That makes some sense, John.
Yeah, because it's a game. It's fun. Like in a tournament, if you quit, you better be ready for the repercussions. But
yeah,
you know, in friendly play, it's friendly play. Just stop playing, play a new game.
That makes sense.
I don't want anyone to go crazy playing. So
unless it's Brett Painter.
Yeah, fair enough.
Then we're okay with that.
No, he's a champ. He takes his beatings like a man.
That's because he lived in Utah all those years. You can't help but get the humble beaten into you by living there. Let me tell you what. Cool, Flippity Bloop.
All right, I'll do the one other I saw here in the chat room from Tau Dark. He says, YouTube battle reports helpful or hurtful to new players and veteran players?
YouTube battle reports helpful or harmful? I think they're helpful to both. It depends. I think that they're good if there's a little bit of commentary to them. I think they crippled systems when they put out nice ones, because what they do is they play the game and then they come back and they watch the game, and what you get a perspective. They actually talk about their moves and what they wish they would have done, and what they did do and where mistakes were made, so that you can see like real time what went wrong and why they feel like it went wrong and all that kind of stuff. So I think in that respect, I think battle reports can be good for both new people and experienced people. I think in general, however, they are more helpful for an experienced player than they are, because if they don't have a lot of commentary, you stand a chance of not catching what they're talking about as a new person. If there's maybe all you're hearing is the audio from the game itself. What do you think, John?
I agree that it's good for veteran players because, that sort of, from the past the newbie standpoint on, it's helpful because you get to see a lot of things you don't necessarily see. Mm-hmm. And, you're learning from everyone else's experiences then. For the absolute new players, it can be bad because they're seeing a lot of stuff and they're going to try and jump a couple steps to that level.
Yeah, there is that.
Where they need to walk before they can run.
Yep, there is that.
So it can be if you try and take the right things out of it.
Nope, that makes a lot of sense. I think that I have not watched a lot of the batreps that are on endgamegaming.net. The problem with this new microphone is every time I even belch a little bit, it's going to be like blaring in the damn ears. So I apologize for that. Excuse me. I will say that right now. Anyhow, and you're right. I mean, in some of those top players, I don't know if Endgame Gaming has much audio to it or not. I know that MkII puts a GoPro on the table and that's it, and then walks away. Yeah, but so I'm not sure that. I think you're right. I think that for a newer person, it could be more troublesome than with a more experienced player.
Yep. On a related note, I really enjoy Infinity Battle Reports as a newer player for that because I learn a lot. But
are you watching them on wargaming.com?
Oh, of course I am. Mini Wargames.
Yeah, Mini Wargames does an awesome job. I love that YouTube channel.
Yeah. And actually, if you get the right guys, if you did them sort of like they did, and you we're not sure how this goes, we're going to run with this. If it's different, tell us in the comments, and we'll figure it out. Yep. That helps too if you understand that, because sometimes I scream at the screen. I'm like, no, that's wrong. It doesn't work like that.
In general, the guys that they have on there too seem like pretty good Joes.
Yeah. I need to check out some more. I've checked out Trevi the Great does some battle reports for War Machine. His has been pretty good, especially the condensed one where he gives you like an overview. That's a lot more helpful, I think.
Yeah, Owen
Especially
used
for
to
the new
do.
players.
Owen was doing War Machine ones too with his friend Chris, but he seems to have stopped. I think he got a new job.
Yeah, and Tau Dark does some, and I haven't had a chance to check his out, but they're on the list to check out.
Awesome, super cool.
Yep.
So that's what I think about battle reports. Flippity bloop.
All right. Joseph Merrick says, the Ironhead career in No Quarter 52 can mount a light warjack gun to its armor. Which do you take?
So you did a little bit of research for this one, right, John?
Very little.
Excellent.
I started looking on the internet and then didn't have it handy, and my IKRPG book is nowhere handy. So I would say the Charger gun if you can get 2 shots out of it. Otherwise, just a gun from a Grunback gunner.
Okay, I think that's a good one. I mean, powerful shot is certainly good if you happen to be of the focused manipulation type. I am going to, however, go to the gun from my favorite light warjack in the entire game, and that is the Repenter gun. Yep.
Oh, sorry.
Yep. I'm gonna put a POW 12 auto fire 8-inch spray on the end of my armor. I have no idea what kind of a steelhead he's walking around with a Repenter gun hanging from their arm, but I'm gonna put my odds with them that they're gonna win.
Hey, yeah, kill a little fire.
Oh yeah,
that's Plan B. That's always Plan B.
Fire is good. Fire works pretty well, from what I understand. A lot of people don't like it; they don't have access to it. And the gun could run off of the tears of my enemies. I wouldn't even have to carry fuel with it. I could just fuel it with the tears of my enemies. So that's I think that's any other guns that you can think of off the top of your head?
I don't know what counts. Like if you get the Hunter gun, that's pretty legit.
Hey, he said light jacks, right?
Yeah.
Hunter gun in play. I wouldn't mind the Sentinel gun.
Oh yeah, chain gun's pretty good.
Chain gun, you get up to 6 shots.
Yeah.
Now it's variable. It's only a POW 10. Doesn't cause a critical continuous effect, but it's still potentially up to 6 shots. So there you go. So I guess we're looking at the Repenter gun or possibly the Hunter gun as our top candidates. Flippity bloop.
Chris Root says, what kind of beer am I buying for you at TempleCon?
All right, this is a very important question. I think we're going to make sure we make time for this. We only have a couple minutes left here in Flippity Bloop, but we can go long. Are there any more questions beyond Chris's?
I'm checking now, but so far it looks like no.
Okay, so we're going to end on a high note. That's a good thing. I am going to say that, Chris, as one of my nuts, you should bring whatever is your favorite local brew from your area. Now, Chris is from the New England area, and so I probably have not had beer from that area. I haven't spent a lot of time in New England, and I used to live in Buffalo, New York. That's not exactly New England at all. I mean, it's not even remotely in New England. It's like saying California is New England if you're going to say Buffalo is from New England. So I would, if I were you and you were going to buy me a beer, I would say, bring me something local. I'm going to be bringing the Spotted Cow, and maybe some two women, which is from the New Glarus Brewing Company here in Wisconsin. So that is what I'll be bringing to share with you and with Mr. Brett Painter as part of my nuts. You'll get special access to the cow and the 2 women. And Brett, since you did live in Utah, 2 women has nothing to do with polygamy. Just letting you know. We both lived there, so we can make that joke.
Fair enough.
So, wow, that was a good flippity bloops.
Absolutely.
How are you liking my color scheme? All you can see is my thumb. For God's sakes, will I ever learn to hold these models so that people can actually see them?
No, you're getting a pretty good view. Actually, I like it, and I like the green better than like the red.
Yeah, I got... I wonder if I should go back and do a different color green with... Because this green is kind of kicking, isn't it? I'm liking it. My other Dester Thane has a red cloak, and that's why I went with that color. There's one red in one green Dester Thane. So I was kind of keeping with that thought. But
No, it's fair enough. I just like the green one better. It's not quite as ostentatious, but it reminds me of a little bit of my mercenaries too, because I use a lot of green with them.
Nice.
Oh, snap.
God, I got to catch up here, John. I'm way behind.
Should I assume that Belinda Librarian is your...
That would be her.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That would be the Belinda.
Yeah, she's...
What's up, honey?
Jumped in the chat room.
Yay. She's upstairs working on her laptop, I think.
Fair enough.
So, this next shot of Kraken, I'm going to dedicate to Belinda for joining the chat room. Afterwards, I think we're going to watch Hellboy 2.
Oh, I have not seen that yet. I want to.
I've heard it's awesome. I can't wait to give it a shot. So, Belinda, here's to you, and for everything you do, this Kraken's for you. Hey, Ron.
Ron.
So now we're on to... So just to kind of recap where we are with painting here. As you can see, these models are closing in on getting ready for wash. And that's,
yeah, no doubt.
And that's 2 of them in an hour. So that gives you an idea of how quickly these silly models paint up. It's really ridiculous. And most of the remaining painting is stuff that is going to require painting after wash also. So I think one thing I'm going to do here is they have these kind of like rune belts that they have across their chests. I've done those in like a brass color and then washed them down. So I think I'm going to paint that yet before I go to the washes. But man, these things are coming right along.
Yeah, they definitely are.
So, John, you watched some anime this week.
I did, as promised. Last week, I watched what's probably my favorite anime. Spoiler.
Oh.
It's called Riding Bean. It's late 80s, probably.
Well, that's some good stuff there.
I will tell you exactly if it says so on here. 89. Really late 80s.
Nice.
And it basically follows the one exploit of Bean Bandit and his cohort in crime, who's just named Rally in this. And for anyone who reads manga, they are the same characters from Gunsmith Cats. They're more of the prototype of those characters.
Okay.
Since this is before he started doing the Gunsmith Cats manga. And it's just basically one adventure with them, and it's just amusing.
Nice.
It's very, he's a very big car and gun nut. So the car stuff's really cool. He's very particular about his gun stuff. It's Kenichi Sanada who does a lot of stuff. I believe he did Bubblegum Crisis and a lot of other early animes.
Nice.
And I love it. I mean, it's like a lot of action movies. It gets crazier as it goes along. You start off like, oh, this is somewhat realistic. And then it's
Then it's not anymore.
Yeah, it's not. at one point, he gets rammed with a Mini, a real small Mini, like old school 80s Mini, into a Corvette. Gets up as it backs up, charges it and shoulder checks it, lifting it off the ground, and then chucks it aside.
Wow, his power level was well over 9,000.
Yes, it's very cool. It's kind of modern Shadowrunny if you're into that stuff.
Oh, sure. So it's got a little bit of a kind of a cyberpunk feel to it.
Less the cyberpunk part, more the criminals doing jobs, and there's sort of this underworld where people know the criminals, know who to go to get certain illegal jobs done. Because he's a courier. He's like Jason Statham from The Transporter, just more badass.
Not more badass. Wow.
Yeah, well, I mean, flipping a Mini.
Well, there is that with his shoulder, no less.
Yeah, well, boom in there, picked it up. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
I enjoy the hell out of it. I give it 0 shots of Kraken.
Oh my God!
We'll probably want to take a 1 shot of Kraken just because there are certain levels where reality and it do not agree. And watch the subtitle. I don't care how much you hate subtitles. Unless you're watching Cowboy Bebop, you always watch the subtitles.
The voice acting on Cowboy Bebop is so worth it.
And the subtitles are pretty bad.
Yeah.
Or no. Actually, I think Cowboy Bebop is the one you absolutely have to watch this. Well, That's right. Yeah, the Cowboy Bebop's the one where you don't watch the subtitles because the voice acting is good.
By the way, I just poured another shot of Kraken because I felt like I had to catch up.
Fair enough. But so yeah, it's kind of hard to find because it is old. I'm hoping they put out a Blu-ray copy, but I'm not holding my breath.
So that was Riding Bean?
Riding Bean, yep.
Cool.
I've bought it twice now. I had it on videotape back when they were like $35 a tape for anime, and I have it on DVD.
Yeah, I was going to ask, have you ever watched, oh God, now I'm going to space out. We'll come back to it. It was an anime I was going to recommend. Oh, Dominion Tank Police.
The original or the remake?
Oh, that's a good question. I thought it was the original. With Una and
I've
Puma.
watched some of both. The original I thought was more interesting, but the remake was not bad.
When was the remake done?
Late 90s? Maybe mid 90s? That sort of area.
Huh. Because I want to say, how can I tell the difference?
The remake would be called New Dominion Tank Police.
No, I've only seen the original then. Because it was
Bonaparte Tank.
Yeah, I that was fantastic. I mean, and the cat girls and all that kind of stuff. It was pretty epic.
And it actually told an interesting story throughout it too. It took two go-throughs, I think, to really get the story, but it was definitely good.
I don't know. I just kind of lost it every time Una and Puma started doing their dance. Anyway, so okay, well, cool. That 0 shots of Kraken for the writing of Bean.
Well, that's what happens when you review one of your favorites of anything.
Well, I'm gonna go off, and I'm not gonna have one that's gonna be 0 shots of Kraken. This I can promise you. This is I'm gonna be talking about a movie called Oblivion, and started watching Oblivion while I was painting Thorn yesterday, and I was enjoying painting Thorn and good times and all that kind of good stuff, and I started watching Oblivion, and I was like, oh, I'm going to hate this. This is Tom Cruise. I'm going to totally hate it. I'm going to be... Every time that he does anything, I'm going to be remembering him jumping up on Oprah's couch and jumping up and down about how much he loves his now ex-wife and all that kind of stuff. And all I'm going to be thinking about is Scientology the whole time I'm watching the show. And then I watched it, and I liked it. And that really disappointed me that I liked it. Because I wanted to hate it. I really wanted to hate it with all the fiery passion of 1,000 Suns, but I couldn't do it. Because it was actually really fun. And it was really different than I thought it was. I thought it was going to be, I knew kind of the basic plot line, that it was kind of Earth had been decimated and all that kind of stuff. And I am not going to spoil this movie in the course of this, because this is worth watching. It is not what I thought it was. The gentleman that plays Jaime Lannister on Game of Thrones is in the movie, and he does a great job. It's a minor part, but I really enjoyed him in his part. He's a big dude. I mean, he's tall, and when you put him next to Tom Cruise, he looks like 14 feet tall. Because Tom Cruise is the size of absolutely nothing. And I really enjoyed the movie. It is a science fiction action movie that has interesting plot twists, and there wasn't a single Deus Ex Machina in the whole thing, which is a big, huge bonus. So... yeah, I mean, I would highly encourage the Brushheads out there. The Brushheads would know that I would not steer them wrong. I mean, they know that I'm going to look out for them when it comes to movies. And I would recommend... right now it's on HBO, and I'm sure it'll be coming to some of the Netflix, and for sure it's probably available via Amazon Video, not the free stuff, but the pay-for stuff.
It's $14.99. I can buy it on DVD for $12.99.
That's a whole bucket of F that for $14 or even $12. But if you can get it for something cheaper, I recommend it. I think it was fun. Like I said, it's a chance to see the gentleman that plays Jaime Lannister in a different kind of role. I like him as Jaime Lannister a lot. But he's really good in this. And so I'm going to give Oblivion with, and you know what's funny is they have Morgan Freeman. You know, you always see him associated with the film. His part in that movie is so small. It's important, but it's small.
That's what I'd heard.
The Kraken's going down smooth now, John. But I'm gonna give Oblivion, starring Tom Cruise and ostensibly Morgan Freeman. I'm gonna give that. I'm gonna give you 2 shots of Kraken. I think you really only need to have 2 shots of Kraken, because in those 2 shots are very recreational shots of Kraken. They really do. You don't need them to get through, but it's gonna be better without it. With it. Oh,
Gotcha.
Great! Danny Goodner is still waiting for his Starbucks gift card. He is such a troll. He is such a troll.
He is.
I love him.
He's been trolling me on Facebook, which is amusing. He's been making me chuckle.
I mean, I love that guy,
actually,
but I want to
so
shoot him in the
think about
face.
I have a second review that I didn't tell you about.
Oh, snap. Now we're going off script here, buddy.
Maybe you saw it if you were paying attention to Facebook. It could have slipped by. Because earlier this week, I watched The Last Stand with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, tell me about it. Because that's on, I think that's available on HBO also.
It's on Amazon Instant, so it's probably on...
Oh, yeah. Yep.
free, so it's probably on Netflix, too.
Sure.
So he plays a small-town sheriff, and, drug dealers escaping, and he's going to come through the town, and he's, the last line of defense. And there's more to it. There's, the young lady who plays Sif is in it also. It also has...
Where do I know that name from?
From Thor.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And also has... It's got a bunch of guys. You're like, oh, I recognize that guy. It's got Forrest Whitaker in a role that anyone could have played.
But it's Forrest Whitaker. Super awesome.
Yeah.
Haven't heard from him in 1,000 years.
He was okay, but, anyone could have played that particular role.
Okay.
So, it's pretty by the numbers. They foreshadow things, and, there'll be points where you're like, oh, this character said this is going to happen. And it does.
Sometimes
they showed
that's okay.
this is going to happen. So, pretty by the numbers, but it was pretty enjoyable. I mean, it got fairly tepid reviews originally, and I thought it was worth the watch.
Bottom line, you showed up to watch a Schwarzenegger movie. What were you expecting? You want a little bit of that. In fact, if you don't get a little bit of that, you're going to be disappointed.
It was good. I didn't really check the time. Since I watched on my computer, I wasn't tempted to break out my tablet or any. There's like one point I was tempted to. For the most part, I wasn't really tempted to break out my tablet and do something else at the same time. So it was pretty good.
That's actually quite a very nice thing to have to say about a movie, because if you're watching it on a computer and you're not busting out Facebook simultaneously, that means it's got you seriously riveted.
To be fair, as a point, I don't multitask when I watch movies very well. I watch a movie, and like people paint and watch movies, not in my wheelhouse. I can't do that.
I only do it on movies I don't give a damn about.
Yeah, or I actually get concert videos for that. But back to the review. I'm gonna give it. I gave it 2.25 shots of Kraken.
Oh, okay. Well,
So it's in that bulletproof monk area. It's in that level of good. It's like one good script punch up from being really good. We may not have been clear, John. Speaking of bulletproof monk, we may not have been clear about what's going on with the Painting with Menoth John movie club. We're going to be doing that once a month, and we're going to give the assignment on the first weekend of the month, and then we will follow up the following week. Now, this next month is going to be a little weird because of the 2-week layoff and all that kind of stuff. Also, by the way, for those of you who are wondering, am I going to paint it all during that time? Yeah, my hope is that the next time you see me, not only are you going to be looking at these 2 Thanes, but also a fully painted unit of infiltrators as well. But that's beside the point. But the movie club will be coming back. It's going to be a once-a-month kind of a thing because we didn't want to burn out the Brushheads. We certainly don't want to burn out our what has turned out to be a pretty fun episode or segment to the show. So there you go. That being said, if any Brushheads want to send me a movie that has to be available on Amazon Prime for free, If it's there, I'll try and watch it during the week and give it a review of it.
Awesome.
I've got that, and I like try to watch at least one movie a week from it. I actually tried a second this week, which was Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
How'd that work out for you?
Well, I was had eaten an entire bag of pixie sticks and was a little bit hyperactive. And it starts off a little. It was amusing, but it started off a little slow. And I realized I've got other things to do. It was Thursday. John. I've got tabletop to watch. There was a new video for Mini Wargaming, and I'm like, it's not starting fast enough to catch me in my hyperactive mood. So I put it aside. And I'm going to watch it again later.
Jesus, John, Scarface wouldn't have been fast enough starting for you after a bag of pixie sticks.
There are movies that start fast enough. There's my old fallback, The Replacement Killers. That starts fast enough. Or another guilty pleasure of that area, Broken Arrow.
Oh, yeah, Broken Arrow's got its moments. What's not to like about a nuclear weapon and John Travolta?
It doesn't give you a chance to look for the inconsistencies. It's just
exactly.
boom, 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 butterflies. Boom, 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 boom.
That's awesome. So it's like, if you want to experience what it's like to be ADHD, we suggest you go out and get yourself some fabulous pixie sticks and have right at it.
They were actually my wife's. She was not impressed with them, so she gave them to me, and I finished them off because that's what I do.
Because people are starving in Ethiopia.
Yeah, well, it's pixie sticks. It's not good for them. I'll take the bullet on that. And let's see, what else did I watch this week? Oh, actually, I'm reading some stuff. I'm trying to get through all my hard copies so I can start using my Kindle for all of its epic goodness and get books on the Kindle.
Yep.
I finished my last book, which was the Rogue Star Wars X-Wing book, Mercy Kill, which was very good, if you're a fan of that series.
Nice.
I enjoyed the hell out of it. And then I'm currently reading Volume 3 of the Green Hornet comic series. Now, this is Kevin Smith's Green Hornet, so it's not necessarily the original, not the movie by any stretch of the imagination.
How do you feel about the movie, John?
I feel it was a movie. I feel that
it had people in it.
It could have been good, but they went for comedy and a little too unrealistic at points.
Yep.
That's saying something from someone who just watched, Riding Bean and he flipped the mini. Just
that's actually a cautionary tale.
For a movie, you have to call the realism early. Or you have to ease into it.
I understand.
You have to because you'll have expectations of what it's going to be like. So you have to build to it.
It has to have internal consistency.
Or you can build to crazy. Certain things start and then build to crazy. That's okay, but you have to have that slow build, or it's got to be true to itself.
Yep, internal consistency. So I can knock over minis, and so can everyone else.
Yes. So not a huge fan of the movie, but this was actually his script for the movie. The first 2 volumes were his script for a Green Hornet movie, and they didn't get picked up. But when they were starting to redo the series over at Dynamite Comics, he asked Disney, I think owns it. He asked Disney if he could use that, and they're like, sure, as long as you don't get paid for it again. He's like, okay, here's the script. And it's pretty legit. It honors the TV show because that's sort of like the original. It's the original Green Hornet and Kato.
Yep. Well, wasn't Green Hornet even before it was television? Wasn't it a radio play?
It was.
But I mean, that's way back.
Yeah, way back, and I'm hoping that comes out on DVD soon because they just got the Batman TV series out.
Who owns that property? Is it DC or Marvel?
That's actually neither. It's independent.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and I think it was being held hostage for the Batman series. They were sort of arguing over who could release what with the Batman TV series that had some crossovers with it. Back to the comic series. I reread the first 2 volumes. I'm on volume 3 now. The first 2 volumes were pretty good. It's still a comic book. It's still crazy. And but it's still enjoyable. Kevin Smith's writing is pretty good, especially in comic book form, because he can go a little crazy and it fits right in. And it's pretty good. Now it's sort of expanding into the continuing adventures of Britt Reed Jr., if you will, and Kato, who in the comic is female. It's the original Kato's daughter. Now, of course, spoiler, to get by the sexual tension, of course, she's lesbian, so that there can't be anything between them. But that's probably for the best.
Blocked by the lesbian love interest again. I'm just changing a setting here. I'm gonna try and, for at least the end of the show, I'm gonna try and have my models actually be not blurry. So I did the auto zoom on them. Hopefully this won't suck now. Well, so you're on to the Green Hornet comic, and on the now infamous Painting with Monmouth John scale, what would you give it as far as a rating?
I give it a 1.5. You've got to be ready for some comic book shenanigans. There's some standard comic book tropes in there, like the whole death trap and revealing their plan, and things that are just like, wait, how? What? I guess that's okay.
That sounds good. Well, that's good. I haven't picked up a graphic novel in a long time. I read, I think the last set of graphic novels I read was Sanctuary, which is a very hard to find manga, and it's a political and Yakuza story. I've got them out in my garage somewhere. I should treat them better than I do, because they're actually pretty rare and they're probably worth something, but oh well. I'm done painting for tonight, I can tell you that, John. I got my Thanes sitting here doing their thing, looking all menacing. So the next step, folks, if you are interested, Winona's Big Brown Beaver, we're having a bit of a Primus reference out there. The next step, if you wanted to duplicate this color scheme after you've got the cold steel and you've got everything all looking base-coated like how you want it, you come in with Seraphim Sepia from Citadel. Not that you can actually see it because it's a big blurry mess on my screen. I don't know what's up with the focus tonight, but it's not focusing. I suggest you try more Kraken if you want to bring it into focus. And then after you wash it with the Seraphim Sepia, you can make the decision if you want to come back with Devlin Mud or not. I believe in the Houseguard that I showed you earlier that did have some Devlin Mud on it. For sure on the leather, it has Devlin Mud, and that does some cool things. Of course, the skin tones are the Ogren Flesh, or as it's now known in the Citadel shade world, the Reichland Flesh shade. And I think that gives them a nice color. I don't believe in blue-skinned unless they're Nis. And my Nis hunters are all kind of bluish skinned. But my oceans are a little bit more traditional skinned. I guess I'm a racist. I don't know. Whatever. And then the rest of it is highlighting and that kind of stuff. I'll probably wash this red with Ogren Flesh and see what it turns into, just to give it some depth. And then I'll come back and I'll likely highlight it with the Kador highlight. The green, I don't know. I got to look and see what my P3 chart gets to. I'll probably wash it down with some manner of a dark shade, maybe some Devlin Mud, just to give it some depth, and then I'll bring it back up. But the goal is next episode to be showing you a whole bunch of done models. So here we see the Junior Warcaster threatening the Houseguard Thane menacingly with its sword and hand cannon, and Thorn about to lay the wood to the other Houseguard Thane. So there you go.
And remember, the next episode is February 15th.
I cannot possibly emphasize that enough. Also, now I've just had a Houseguard Halberdier come in to take care of the Junior Warcaster. He just charged. So he's going to turn perpendicular, and if I had some dice, I would roll off to see what happened. Anyway, so it'll be 2 weeks. Watch the Super Bowl. The two states that have legalized pot, more or less, are going to have a Super Bowl, and we'll see how all that works out. and we'll see if either team cares if they win or lose.
That's fair.
However, many Doritos will be eaten during the course of the show. This I guarantee you. Let's see. And then we'll have the TempleCon. And I'm kind of considering bringing the rig with me to TempleCon to do some impromptu video specials. And that might be kind of fun to do. The rig is not big. So I've got a microphone now. I've got the little camera. Might do some impromptu Painting with Menoth John specials. So if you have not already subscribed to the channel, please get out there and subscribe to the Twitch channel. And that way when I go live, you'll know to tune in. Also, I'm working with the Muson Minis folks to also release the audio from this show. Now that it doesn't suck donkey balls, I will be releasing it as an audio-only podcast. So, need to hear back from Fat Asian on that one. Got to figure out where the heck how I actually do that, because I'm not sure. Back when I worked on Lost Hemisphere Radio, that was always G'day Bloke's problem, not mine. And that way, I think that'll open us up, John, to a whole different audience, and we may break that 25 to 30 range that we seem to be stuck in as far as visitors in the show. Although, as far as I'm concerned, we've got the highest quality audience in the business.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate all the legendary Brushheads and all the Brushheads out there. And as things get closer with the swag, please keep an eye on the Painting with Menoth John Facebook page, and that'll be the best way to know when the Teespring campaign goes off. There will be female as well as male versions, and so you can get one for your significant other as well as for yourself. So I know that's I'm sure that there are lots of wives out there that would like to have a Painting with Menoth John shirt, and there's at least a couple, one or two, female listeners of the show. So yeehaw!
Indeed.
You got anything else to
myself?
Yeah, there you go. Anything else, John, before we wrap up tonight's extravaganza?
Sure, I've got one quick hobby tip. You know what a great use for all your old extra 40K bits are?
What's a great use for all your extra 40K bits?
Putting on the bases of your Infinity models to make them stand right.
Are you complaining about the fact that they are lifting their leg to nowhere?
Well, no, normally they have rock underneath it, but all my bases are city bases, and that doesn't fit. The rock pile in the middle of the city is kind of jarring.
It could be rubble.
It could be, but I cut them off and found some extra bits, and it's looking pretty good.
Well, good. That is a pro tip from Painting with Menoth John's one and only John Spencer. Use them bits.
Yep, that's what you keep the bits for.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, John, I think, quite frankly, we've gotten to the end of another fantastic, exciting episode of Painting with Menoth John. I'm going to bring the music up now. Yeah, that's professional podcasting right there. That's called a fade-in. And I know you can't hear it because it's in my headphones, but you can't hear it because you don't get the benefit of the mix. But trust me, it's there. And I want to thank everyone in the chat room. I want to thank all the legendary Brushheads, especially Danny Goodner. I know that he really appreciates hearing his voice as frequently as possible. So to you, Danny Goodner, we say good night, and to the rest of the Brushheads, the legendary Brushheads. Tad Go, I see you out there. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful week. We will see you in 2 weeks. And Mr. John Spencer, thank you for doing an awesome job as the co-host with the host. And I will talk to you in a couple of weeks, if not sooner, on the side and all that kind of good stuff. But I wish you all a fabulous couple of weeks, and I will talk to you after TempleCon. Good night, everybody.
Night all.